First story I want to talk about is earlier this month, Brookfield Infrastructure Partners announced that it's going to participate in a transaction to take regional railroad operator Genesee and Wyoming private. They're partnering with GIC, that's Singapore's sovereign wealth fund, as well as some institutional investor. Partners of Brookfield Asset Management, buying the railroad for $112 a share in cash, almost a 40% premium. The price was trading on March 8th, the day rumors started swirling that this deal might happen. When you saw the news of this deal drop, Matt, what was your first reaction to see Brookfield acquiring this railroad?
I wasn't too surprised. I've actually covered Genesee and Wyoming for several years for Fool.com. They were recommended by a stock advisor, so I know them pretty well, and it's a good fit for them. Brookfield loves these backbone infrastructure business. And that's what Genesee and Wyoming does. They move freight basically from point A to point B, basically between the bigger railroads. So they're kind of an intermediary. It fits in well with the globalization that Brookfield's looking for, because they're like huge in North America. They've got railroads in Australia and Europe, so it fits in very well with that. The cash flows, it's not a typical Brookfield type transaction where it's all contractual cash flows, but it's very steady. It is economically sensitive, so it kind of gives them that upside and downside of the economy, but it's a good deal for them. It bolsters their transportation segment, which is something they've been looking at. So it's another good investment by Brookfield.
Yeah, you look at these short line railroads, they kind of serve some of that role as the last mile carrier. As we see more and more the way commerce is moving, there's more and more demand for those last mile services that folks like Genesee and Wyoming can help provide. When you look at kind of the price that Brookfield paid, do you think they got great value here? There had been some rumblings from some investors that maybe Genesee and Wyoming was undervalued its U.S. assets relative to maybe how folks had their impressions of their assets abroad. Do you feel like Brookfield was able to get an attractive valuation for Genesee acquiring it today?
Well, I don't think Brookfield would ever do a deal where they didn't get a good value. So I think that's kind of what drew them to them. Obviously, the near 40% premium suggests that they paid a lot more than, was trading out of the public market. However, Genesee and Wyoming has had some issues overseas. There's issues with the currencies and things like that. So that has been weighing on them. Weather has been an issue for them. The economy, the railroad has, while the global economy has continued to grow, railroads kind of went through a speed bump about a year or two ago. So that kind of put pressure on them. So they were able to get this for, it's kind of like one of those, a fair bit or a good business for a fair price. So, it's not like a screaming bargain like they got in Brazil when they bought a pipeline, but it's a good deal.
Right. And this also adds Brookfield presence. I think it's on almost all major continents now. They were previously in Australia. Obviously, they add Genesee and Wyoming's assets there in Australia, but now it moves them into North America as well as some assets in Europe. Adding to that portfolio for Brookfield, is there any kind of synergies bringing this in with the rest of their rail assets that they can kind of leverage this and get more out of it than maybe the assets as they sit today?
There's some potential, especially in Australia, where Brookfield has kind of done well and Genesee and Wyoming struggled a bit. So there might be some synergies there. Maybe they'll end up combining those businesses. But North America is kind of a separate thing. And then the UK, Europe, there might even be some synergies in the UK. Brookfield has a good ports business over there. They just sold their European port business, so that's kind of not the same. But yeah, there's some, but they're probably, as they do in a lot of cases, they'll operate this business separately. And so it's not like they're going to make this big global railroad giant. I don't see that happening.